Good, good, good. Yeah, what we said we'd do was just contextualise the work you're doing, just a description of where you're working in the college, and then for me to get a good sense about what it is you've created with a sense of systemic influence within an institution for the action research.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's wonderful.
Okay, so if you could just outline the college,
The College of St. Elizabeth is a small Catholic private college in Morristown, New Jersey. There are about 600 women undergraduates, an undergraduate women's college. At the graduate level, there are about 1,400 students, male and female co-ed, at the graduate level. At the graduate level, about 57% of them are part of the graduate program in education. And in that graduate program of education, at this point, we offer a master's degree in special education, a master's degree in teacher certification, master's degree in educational leadership, and an educational doctorate in educational leadership. Those are the major degree programs. And I guess when we were developing these programs, all of these programs evolved over the past 6 years. We had nothing before then. And we were looking for examples of the work that our students can display and show to indicate mastery of the major principles of our program. And the major principles of our program are that they are able to apply servant leadership principles within their daily constructed positions. And so what we wanted them to be able to do, whether they're teaching a youngster who have special needs, or they're being a principal of a school or a superintendent of schools, is to be able to utilize the knowledge that they have learned in our program to view the situations within their environment and to identify the core issues that are worthy of a busy educator's time. And so when we started with that premise with action research within the Masters in Educational Leadership. And at that time, we allowed them, they were using collaborative action research. They were working in groups of 3 or 4 to mutually identify work. We also, at the same time, were working very closely with Richard Sager of Lewis and Clark University to help us model what we thought we wanted, which was very similar to the program that they had in their university. We found so much success within the educational leadership principles, and the fact that our faculty only teach at the graduate level, but they go among the different programs. So they were able to take the same construct of action research and apply it to all of the other programs. At the same time, we just developed the educational doctorate program, which opened 3 years ago, and our first graduates graduated this May. And as we constructed that program, we were looking for the same capstone experience. Typically of a dissertation, we did not want them to do totally a theoretical dissertation. We wanted them to be able to, as in all of our programs, take theory and connect it to the practice that they're involved in. But to be able to utilize their eyes and their ears and all of their senses to get to the core issues so that they don't spend all of their time, which is very typical in many schools, where the principal or the teacher spends all of their time putting out fires that can't go out without getting at why the fire is there in the first place. And so that became something that was able to be disseminated throughout our program, because the same faculty, who were very highly skilled, were able to apply the same construct. We don't use a different model at one degree versus another degree. The only thing that changes is the framework of the environment. So as a result of that, we now have our action research dissertations. We have action research final projects in both of our master's programs. So that even teachers who are beginning to teach, who go on to their second part of their master's in special ed, have to do action research. It's a requirement. There are no electives that take its place. So that's a little bit about how we got to where we are.
Yeah. No, what was fascinating to me was when you were leading the workshop the other day, was the idea that somehow this had infused a whole organisation. So one of the problems that I've seen around the world is the difficulty of developing a systemic influence in relation to the action research. And yet, within your college, this has been accomplished. And I was just really curious about, how you saw that being achieved.
I think 6 years ago, I was the only full-time faculty member in the graduate level. And I started to develop a few programs that eventually brought people on, but brought people on who were collaborative, who were people who had been very heavily steeped in practice as well as theory. And I guess the feeling of all of us as we came on board was that we all wanted to create something that was different from what we had before. And so because we were so successful within the college in terms of enrolling students, retaining students, and graduating students at a very high quality of work, the college administration pretty much supported us in what we proposed. We were very fortunate in our college to have a wonderful president who is a true educator, who understands the value of of servant leadership, of letting people reach the goals that they've set for themselves. And our faculty, for example, with our doctoral program, at that time we were 8 faculty members. All of us gave up Fridays once a month for a full year to work out the doctoral program. So we're all committed to this. We're all committed to the gain of our students. To me, it's the cultural, it's the environment, it's what Wheatley talks about a living organism of an organization that works together in relationships, that feeds off itself. So all of our professors are actively engaged in action research. The downside of it is, because we're a teaching institution, that most of us have not published a great deal. We've created a great deal, but have not published a great deal. And yet that seems to be okay in our college. And so we've been very fortunate to have leadership who have allowed us to create. And in doing so, action research became, along with servant leadership, became the guiding forces that are the webs that hold us together.
Because that point about the action research within an mainly teaching institution has, if you like, not for yourselves but for the rest of us, if you like, created an issue, because we don't know about the work you're doing and we can't understand how you've created this systemic influence with the action research, even though you've got so many completed pieces of work by the students. And as we were talking the last few days, I think you were saying that you would now go back to the college and see what you could do to make this understanding of yours more public.
Yes. Yeah, I think one of our shortcomings was we are so internalized in terms of getting our work done and working with our students and letting our students see the work of each other, that we have not even thought about the larger community, which is a fault of ours, because when we were beginning this approach, we looked outside the community to see what was out there. We didn't look far enough. And now, after talking to you, Jack, and seeing the wealth of communication possibilities, I think it becomes our role now to be able to become more public and to join in the national and indeed international discussion on the area of action research. And we certainly have models to share, but we certainly can use the benefit of people like you and people who are also in the field to give us some more feedback on how we can continue to get better. So one of the things I will do when I do return is to talk about publishing our works. And I think we have upwards of 200 action research projects done in 3 different areas. In the special education arena, most of which they're concentrating on single children, which I think is a very valuable piece of work. Or they're concentrating on their classrooms, or they're concentrating on a school, or indeed in some cases they're concentrating on a whole school district because they're the district leader. So the context of all of these projects, I think, are very rich, and probably in addition to us learning more about how we're doing, would inform the institutions that are involved.
Right, so I think you mentioned just 3 areas, and there was special education and the leadership, is that right? Servant leadership, and was there a third one?
Well, leadership